Before we get started, we have what we call
Recording in progress.
housekeeping that needs to be done, which will be done by Hannah Decker, Assistant to the Secretary Treasurer, Executive Assistant.
This event is being held as a webinar. This means that all attendees are able to see the panelists, but the panelists cannot see the attendees, nor can the attendees see each other. As an attendee, you have joined in a listen-only mode. Sign language interpreters are available if needed. The names of the interpreters for this town hall are Ashley Middleton and Tiffany Ramsayer. Both interpreters will be spotlighted on the screen during the presentation. You should have any questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Questions will be answered in the Q&A section by panelists during the town hall as available. Please note that only those on the computer will have access to the Q&A section. Those on the phone or watching live on Facebook will not. Two poll votes will be conducted during this town hall. Only those on the computer will be able to participate. Again, those on the phone or watching live on Facebook will not. We do ask that you ensure that you are not on the USPS clock for any duration of this presentation. And as always, we are unable to prove any registrations that come from a USPS.gov email address. So when you register for any webinars or Zooms, please make sure that you use a personal or a local email address.
Thank you, Hannah. And also, before we get started, everyone, who you can see right now, along with our interpreters, can we go out of speaker mode? Okay. Our interpreters, and I would like to take this time to thank them for being with us this evening and this afternoon. I would like to introduce to you your executive board, but before I do that, let me thank all of our national officers, our national business agents, our resident officers who are also on this call, as well as our rank and file, who's also on this call and participating with us in this town hall. Not to forget our national collective CAT team, our collective action teams who are meowing in your neighborhood or somewhere close to you. And if you need assistance for them, please send them an email at ncc@apw.org. They're ready to assist you with whatever you need to help. Starting with our board, we have Director Steve Brooks, Director of Support Services, Director Mike Foster, Director of Motor Vehicle Services, Central Region Coordinator Sharon Stone, our Executive Vice President, Debbie Zaretti, Northeast Regional Coordinator, Tiffany Foster, Director of the Clerk Division, Lamont Brooks, Director of Industrial Relations, Van Zimmerman, the Eastern Region Coordinator, AJ Jones, Southern Region Coordinator, Kenneth Beasley, our Western Region Coordinator, Omar Gonzalez, Director of the Maintenance Division, Director Balogun, APWU Balogun. He likes to be called Director Balogun, so please keep that in mind. Last but not least, President of the American Postal Workers Union, Mark Dimondstein. So welcome and thank you again for joining us this evening. The current collective bargaining agreement between the American Postal Workers Union and the United States Postal Service expires on September the 20th, 2021. Negotiations for a new contract will begin on June the 22nd, 2021. Your national union and your national negotiators will be well prepared for this critical battle. And with that, I give you our Executive Vice President, Sister Debbie Zaretti.
We thank you all for joining us tonight. And I'd like to introduce you to our lead negotiator, Mark Dimondstein. He has been our lead negotiator for the last two successful contracts. And he's going to address you on the importance of negotiations and the role that you guys can play for our future to make sure that our collective bargaining agreement is successful. With your help, we can do it. So with that, Mark, it's all yours.
Oh, thanks so much, Sister Zaretti. And I'm off mute, so that's a good start. Good afternoon, good evening, sisters and brothers, APW family. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, to join with us. It's a chance for you to hear from your bargaining committee. It's also a chance for us through your questions and comments have been sent in to hear from you as we gear up for this battle ahead, and a battle it would be. So I just want to share some general perspectives and observations before we get into the questions and answers. One, well, first I want to introduce your core committee that you'll be hearing from today. So I'm very honored to be your lead negotiator. It's a privilege. And I serve on the core committee with Sister Debbie Zaretti, our Executive Vice President, Sister Elizabeth Powell, our Secretary Treasurer, Brother Van Zimmerman, our Industrial Relations Director, who's also the Chief Spokesperson at the table for the APWU. And then the 4 craft directors, Brother Lamont Brooks from the Clerk Craft, our Clerk Craft Director, Brother APWU Balogun, Maintenance Craft Director, Brother Mike Foster, our Motor Vehicle Craft Director, and Brother Steve Brooks, our Support Services Director. Along with the core committee, many others are involved, all of the assistant directors, a lot of officers, a lot of staff. And so we are ready to rock and roll, as they say. But so I think it's fair to say that negotiations are always very challenging, but they're also a great opportunity. And think about this, brothers and sisters. We're engaged in collective bargaining. That simply means that both sides have to negotiate with each other. But when I say it's an opportunity, it doesn't mean we're going to be able to get to everything we want to get addressed right. It may not all happen in this round of bargaining. But think about the wonderful opportunity we as workers have through our union voice to negotiate with the company. I always tell people, for those of us who have worked in a non-union workplace, and most of us probably have, or for friends and family who do, companies have what's called an open door policy, right? You know, they always put it in a handbook and manual. It sounds nice and flowery. We have an open door policy. What they really mean, though, is if you don't like what the boss is doing, if you don't like the pay, if you don't like the fact that you didn't get a raise, if you don't like the fact that they took something away or added something or gave a job to somebody else that's been there less time, whatever it is, we have an open door. It's open. You can see your way out. When we have collective bargaining, management has to sit down in good faith with the union and try to hash out our needs, our demands. They have their demands too. It's part of negotiation. But think about the wonderful opportunity we have as postal workers to engage in this process. And we can't do it alone, and I'll get into that in a minute or two. I do want to remind all of us where this right came from. 50 plus years ago, our forefathers and foremothers took to the streets in an unlawful strike, put everything on the line, put all their jobs on the line. Enough was enough, much like the teachers of 3 and 4 years ago. Enough is enough, and they won. And one of the main things they won, nationwide postal strike, shut down the country, actually. One of the main things they won was the right to collectively bargain over wages and benefits. That's why our sisters and brothers in the federal sector do not have the same right we do. We fought for it, we won it, we have it, and we are the beneficiaries. And when we sit at the table and we prepare for this contract, we're building on what has been bequeathed to us, from those who have come before. So let me share a few observations about negotiations. Number one, negotiations are never easy. We do not negotiate with ourselves. We're not looking at each other and we're not looking in the mirror and saying, sure, that sounds like a great idea. We have an employer that often has opposite goals from us. The union always has the overreaching goal of uplifting postal workers, bettering our lives and working conditions, not only for the workers, for our families, for our communities. And management goals normally include reducing costs and increasing what they call flexibility. So number one, negotiations are contentious, and it is going to be a struggle. We have an adversary. Either side in negotiations can place issues on the bargaining table regarding wages, hours, and working conditions. The key for the union will be to achieve a final agreement that advances the well-being of postal workers and our families as a whole. The union certainly in negotiations must prioritize our objectives and focus on those issues we feel are most important to our members as a whole group. There's lots and lots and lots that we want to accomplish, but we also have to make sure we prioritize what we know and believe is most important to all of you. We certainly want to reach what's called a voluntary agreement versus an interest arbitration agreement. Why? We then control our own destiny. If we have a voluntary agreement, not going to be easy, but if we can reach a voluntary agreement, the rank and file committee, the rank and file bargaining advisory committee will then be able to do their work, deciding whether it should go out to a vote of the members. And you as members will be able to do your work and have a vote on the contract. If we end up in interest arbitration, and if we have to, we'll be prepared and we'll be ready. But our future will come down to the whims and the wishes of one arbitrator. Even though there's 3 on the panel, 1 belongs to the union, 1 belongs to management, and then there's a 3rd neutral. So clearly it would be better if we control our destiny rather than putting it in the hands of one person. The results of negotiations are also impacted by the world around us, how other unions have done, other postal union contracts, what's happening in the economy as a whole. We're not an island to ourselves. And most importantly, negotiations come down to power and leverage. Power and leverage. When I sit at the table as lead negotiator, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the other core committee members, we're very proud to be there. But management's not meeting with us because we have fancy titles or can put on nice clothes. They're meeting with us because of you as members have sustained and helped this union grow, and that's where our power is. And during contract time, we really have to build that power. We have to let the company know that we're united. Your negotiating committee is working well together. We're rowing hard together. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but we also all look forward to the opportunity. But when we sit at the table, management has to know, has to feel, has to hear that we are not alone and that we're united as a workforce for the best possible contract. And sisters and brothers, postal workers always deserve a decent contract with ever improving work life, ever improving standard of living. But if there was ever a time to underscore just how much we've earned a good contract, it's this last year and a half of the pandemic with you as frontline essential workers with tremendous dedication in dangerous times, serving the people of the country at a time they probably needed us the most. So this year, we are negotiating in the shadow of and in the context of this pandemic, and just how essential and just how dedicated you are as postal workers. So, Sister Powell, I know there's some questions, and I don't want to take up a lot of time with my observations. I've shared them. If we can get to some of the questions and then move on to some of the other core members who will make some presentations, I'm ready. You're on mute, Liz.
Well, I couldn't let them not have experience with me being on mute when the first group heard me being on mute. So I'm going to try to keep myself unmuted the rest of the evening. I do have a question for you. President Dimondstein has basically submitted by 3 individuals, Brad Sandberg, John Rudd, and Stanley Mason. And they're interested in finding out exactly what is APW's primary goals in negotiations and what are the main issues we're trying to achieve.
Well, thanks all for that really broad and underlying important question. I mean, in the broadest of stroke, what we want to achieve is a darn good contract. But within that, I've sort of dubbed it as 2 main goals. One is we want to protect, and the other is we want to expand. So let me just get into that briefly. So when we talk about protecting, I talked about the strike, the gains over the last 50 years that were won through hard struggle. We have some wonderful things in the contract. Sometimes we take them for granted. We have a no layoff clause after 6 years as a career employee. Do you know any other worker, union or non-union, that has that kind of job security? I don't. Maybe there are a few. Those are the kind of things we definitely want to protect. And rest assured that management would like to get rid of these things. In the last round of bargaining, they advocated, they had a proposal that the no layoff protection would change from 6 years to 15 years for those already hired. but not yet reached their 6 years. And then for new employees, they wanted no layoff protections at all. So those are the kind of things we want to protect. Another example, 50-mile limit on excess. Excessing's no fun, but it's the alternative to layoff. So it's a wonderful right. But if you're excess 300, 400, 500 miles, it breaks up families, pulls kids out of school, away from their friends. Sometimes it can break up marriages. It can force spouses to leave a particular job that they maybe had for many years. So the 50-mile limit on excess addresses all of that. Somebody is excessed out of their facility and can only be placed 50 miles. Nobody's going to have to pick up and move. Nobody's going to have to be pulled out of school. No one's going to have to quit another job. So that's another example of protect. The COLA, cost of living allowance. We're the only postal union standing that has full COLA now. We absolutely have to protect it. And I, looking through the question somebody raised, well, why have our wage increases been on the lower side? What they left out is our wage increases are a combination of the general wage increase combined with the COLA. And so the COLA is very, very, very important. We want to make sure we continue the strong opportunities for PSE conversions, the moratoriums that we have one for PVS on subcontracting. And where we have the career workforce, we want to make sure that it's fully protected and that the direction we want to go is to have more career, less non-career, not the opposite way. And we know management wants more non-career and less career. So those are some of the ideas, not all of them. And then there's all those wonderful rights we take for granted, brothers and sisters, like seniority and bidding. But that's what takes so much of the favoritism out of the workplace. And who gets the better job? Who gets the promotion? Who gets the better days off? Who gets the hours of work that fits best for their family? The entire grievance procedure, it gives us the right to protest, gives us the right to push back. Those things we should never take for granted, and we want to make sure that they're all protected. And then the second part of it is we want to enhance and expand. So what do we mean by that? Well, we certainly want to bridge the gap of the two-tier career two-tier career pay scales, pre-2010, post-2010. Most of you know, in a grade 6, it's 5 steps lower. It was 5 steps lower. We won 2 of those steps back in the last round of bargaining. But we have more work to do. And we very much want to bring up the lower scale to the higher scale. You can get a singular pay scale by going down. That's not what we're about. We want a singular career pay scale by going up. So that's one key way we would like to expand. There's no state secrets here. I'm not giving you things that management doesn't already know that are very important to the union. We want annual general wage increases. They're not automatic. The 2010, we had a 5-year contract. 2 of the years had no pay raises. We've had interest arbitration awards from the past when mail volume was strong, revenue was strong, that 2 of the 4 years, there were no annual pay increases. So we want to make sure there's strong general wage increase. We want to work on the very legitimate concerns of the PTFs in terms of schedules, in terms of hours, in terms of work opportunities. We want to uplift the PSEs. One way is we want an automatic conversion after so much time, at least in certain size offices. Hopefully in all, but at least in certain size. But we also want to make sure that there are improved pay and benefits to uplift the PSEs. We certainly want to work and use the bargaining opportunity to negotiate with management over the kind of service that the people of this country deserve that they're not getting. And we all know that they're not getting. So we want better and expanded services. And we want to make sure the best we can. And it's always been a challenge. It's not a new challenge. It might be getting worse right now. But we want to try to grapple better with the hostile work environments, this management culture that's out there that's needed to change for decades. It hasn't. And we look at the opportunity for around collective bargaining to try to fix some of those problems. No one should have to go into work and get harassed under any circumstances for any reason. And so that's also an important part of enhancing the rights, the benefits, and the working conditions of postal workers. So that's it. It's that's broad stroke. That's not every issue. You'll hear from some others about some of the issues that are out there that we're contemplating, that we're considering. We have listened to all of you. Since we didn't have a national convention last year, we did a survey. It's not an official vote of the highest authority of the union, but 8,000 or 9,000 of you sent those surveys back in, and we've gathered the information, and we're certainly paying attention and helping to use those that input to guide us. Same with past resolutions from the convention. Same with looking at problems that keep coming up in a grievance procedure. Those are some of the things we use to guide us forward as we determine a lot of the main priorities. But I appreciate that question. I'll turn it back to you, Sister Powell.
Thank you, President Dimondstein. You certainly covered a lot of territory to make for interesting negotiations with the United States Postal Service. The level of our membership involvement, as well as our relationship with the public, will have a great impact on how well we do in negotiations. We have received over 300 questions, all of which we would not be able to answer you during this town hall meeting this evening. But if you have any questions, at the bottom of your computer there, you will see Q&A. Please put them in the Q&A. We have our coordinators, our directors, and our vice president ready to answer whatever they can by responding to you. With that, young man who's working very hard to get us prepared for the upcoming contract negotiations is our Director of Industrial Relations, Vance Zimmerman. Vance?
Thanks, Liz. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm honored to be your chief spokesperson. I'm excited for these contract negotiations coming up. We're all working very closely together and rowing together, and we're ready to fight for the contract you deserve. So as we go forward, I just want to think of this as we're heading towards June 22nd, opening day. APWU, our union, our contract, our future. That's one of our mottos. And remember those. Our union is strong. We got a contract we deserve, and it's the future for us going forward and let those that come after us. This has been a challenging past year for all of us. You've all worked under challenging circumstances during the pandemic. The increased parcel volumes, the staffing issues, and the everyday difficulties you encounter at the post office. You're all declared essential workers and proved vital to keeping Americans connected during the pandemic and delivering needed goods, checks, medication, and a sense of normalcy to every address in America on a daily basis. The American public still recognizes the Postal Service as the best and most trusted government agency in the country. It is now time for management to acknowledge that through these contract negotiations. Sisters and brothers and family, the entire APWU team is working daily preparing for this negotiation. President Dimondstein and I have been meeting on a regular basis to narrow our plan and focus. This has included multiple meetings with the core negotiating committee, the craft directors, and a meeting with the rank and file bargaining committee. The craft directors and their officers have been planning their approach to negotiations for the individual crafts, which I'll talk about more later, and updating President Dimondstein and myself regularly. The core committee is made up the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and the craft directors, and they're working tirelessly to get ready for this contract and get you a contract you deserve. Proposals are being prepared, the data and research necessary to support our demands are being compiled, so the arguments we put forward to management will be more difficult to deny because we have the facts and data to back them up. So we're ready with good data and facts, and we're looking forward to starting negotiations very soon. You can rest assured that we will leave no stone unturned in getting a good contract. Your negotiating team, your national officers, and the staff will continue to put in the time and hard work necessary to get the contract you deserve. We need you to be part of our negotiations. We need your participation. Wear your union t-shirts and your stickers. It is that kind of participation that shows our unity during negotiations. And believe me, management, when we call for a day of action, when we call for stickers to be worn or shirts to be worn or some kind of action taken, management pays attention up here to see how much on the workroom floor reacts to what the national APW asks you to do, because they're gauging how much support do we have on the workroom floor, and that does affect their willing to negotiate. We really want you to get involved with your contract action teams and participate in the activities they have planned as well. On June 21st, 2021, which Liz will have more details in a minute, join us online for the opening day rally. Then on June 22nd, 2021, you have a unique opportunity for the first time. The membership, the locals will have an opportunity to Zoom in on opening day and watch the opening day of negotiations. So show management our solidarity and our fight for a fair contract by being there on both of those. Like all negotiations, these negotiations will continue with come with some challenges. We expect the Postal Service to make the same demands as last contract they always do about how they cannot afford pay increases. More than likely, they will propose very little in pay increases. The elimination of the current COLA practices, as President Dimondstein pointed out, we're the only union that gets full COLA. That means every member, whether they got 1 month seniority or 40 years seniority, gets the same amount of cost of living. Fewer career jobs, elimination of the no layoff clause, and other regressive proposals that fail to reward you for your hard work. Collectively standing strong, we can beat back these demands. Just as we enter into negotiations, Postal Pulse survey was in full swing and just concluded. I don't think it's any coincidence it was happening just before negotiations. You all been insinuated, you've been slammed with management trying to get you to fill out the Postal Pulse propaganda. Your supervisor reminds you, they harass you, they say, have you filled it out yet? You did not need to return your Postal Pulse survey, and we appreciate that you didn't. The APW combined voice is shouting what we are telling the Postal Service. We deserve a good contract, and our collective voice will not be drowned out by any survey as the fight for our future starts today. Remember, union strong all day long. And I'm proud to be part of the core committee and proud to be representing you. Thank you. Back to you, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you, Vance. I have a question for you as well.
Okay.
Submitted by Julie Bates. We're seeing a big shift in management cooperation, unilateral actions, and we're receiving more denials of step 1 and step 2. Will National be doing anything in our negotiations to handle the influx of appeals to arbitration as a result of all those issues?
Thanks for that question, Liz. So we're always looking for ways to get issues resolved sooner, as justice delayed is justice denied. There is no easy answer. A lot of times it's actually not quite the procedure that the problem is, it's the individuals that you're dealing with. And it tends to ebb and flow from one part of the country to another. It may well be in Iowa that there's an influx of things not getting resolved, but it could be in Florida where they were having all kinds of problems. They now are getting a lot of things to resolve. There's certainly a lot of unrest right now as all the managers' jobs are reposted in district labor relations. So not a single district labor relation individual has their manager has their job secured, and every plant manager's job is being reposted with this restructure. But let me be assured, just like in the past, we will put the resources necessary to get your grievances heard and push for earlier settlement. And we will be looking, just like we have in the past, putting in proposals to possibly cause an additional remedy or push for things that would cause the cases to be settled earlier. That is always a goal of ours, to get things resolved and the contract complied with without final agreements or at the lowest step. So that's an important issue to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vance, for that answer. Before we go to poll question number 1, I wanted to remind everybody that APW has been busy coordinating activities surrounding the opening day of negotiations. And we're getting ready for our contract rally on Monday, June the 21st, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're inviting you, as well as your co-workers, to join us virtually. The rally will start at 7 p.m. and several of our labor allies, political leaders, and community supporters will be there to show their support for the struggle of the American Postal Workers Union. So don't forget, if you haven't registered, please register. That's next Monday, 7 p.m. All right, Debbie, we're ready for poll question 1. You're on mute, Deb.
All right, let's see, where's our poll questions? There we go. How will you participate in the rally on June 21st? So choose, I will join you virtually by Zoom, I will join you virtually by phone, or I will not participate. Hope you don't say that one. All right, thank you so much, and just take our poll.
All right, while we're waiting for the poll to be taken and waiting for the results of that poll, I would like to bring to you a person who's the ever-ready Energizer Bunny, the Director of the Clerk Division, Lamont Brooks.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, everyone, for attending this town hall meeting. On behalf of the Clerk Division, my Assistant Directors, Lynn Palace Barber and Sam Lesaby, my Clerk Division MBAs, it is a great honor and a privilege to be able to represent you in these negotiations. We have been working tirelessly to prepare for this arbitration. I want to thank the hard work that the MBAs have done. We're leaving no stones unturned. I'll give you some examples of what we've done for the last, going back to as early as January and February. We have taken the contract and broke it down any way we can. We got committees, subcommittees, Article 37 subcommittee, Article 1 through 36, where we look at anything affecting the clerk craft. We have reviewed all the MOUs. We have gone back and looked at all of the resolutions, not only the last clerk craft conference, but the last convention. I've even gone back and looked at all the emails I received from the field by subject matter, by typing in the subject and seeing what the inquiries and concerns we've getting. Based on all that, they've been working to be prepared to support Mark Advance moving forward so we can get the best contract we can get for you all. What's important is this. I'm deeply of the opinion. I've seen what the Postal Service do when they give us work rules that they have no intentions or honoring. So as Mark gave and what we are looking for as a core, that is the APWU core. We want job security. We want pay raises. We won't keep the no layoff because we want to maintain all the things we've achieved in previous negotiations. If we're going to negotiate, it'll be negotiate for what we think is a gain and not a concession. So that's where we're heading. This is what we're going to achieve. And we feel very confident. We're prepared. We're not going into negotiations without any fear. We have reason and logic. In fact, we've even gone as far as we're not trying to persuade the Postal Service to give us something we want. We're prepared to persuade the Postal Service to give them something we want, they need, and the public should have. So we're not doing it from the standpoint of begging. It's about doing it where if it's in the best interest of employees and the Postal Service and our customers, it's the right thing to do. So with all that, I want to thank for all of what you've done. And keep in mind, your NBAs are working hard because even though we're under COVID and there have been not as many arbitrations, there have been tasked with doing more reviews. And I'm really, really hard on the NBAs. And I have to give them their props for all what they did. So I ask you support us. Make sure you share the information with the people on the floor, because our success will be based on your success and what you do to support us and the APW as a whole. We thank you for your support. I ask that you pray for your leaders that we make the right decision on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Brooks. Deb, I think we're ready.
Let's go to the responses, the results of the poll. So it looks good. 95% will join virtually by Zoom, and about 2% will be by phone, and only 2% not participating. Maybe you'll be at work, but we thank you for the results of the poll, and we have a second poll coming up in a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. So Brother Lamont, you're not getting off the hook that easily. I do have a question for you that was submitted by Penny Matthews. The PSCs have no language to support them to guarantee them a day off. They are working 11 and a half hours and no consistent schedule. In this contract, are we going to do something as a union to try and get them more language that will help them in this area?
Yes, we intend on working. In fact, we have several resolutions, we're working proposals, but keep in mind, here's our position. We're going to negotiate for a better contract for all our employees, whether it be PSEs, whether it be PTFs, whether it be full-time regulars who don't prefer to work overtime. We're not going to try to advance a group of employees on the back of another group of employees. So we're prepared to try to offer the Postal Service some proposals that will allow not only PSEs, but PTFs to be able to get off. And we understand that the Postal Service will try to counter with trying to force none-list full-time regulars to work. We won't do it at the expense of full-time regulars. So our goal is to make sure post office are properly staffed so that every employee has an opportunity to be off. Now, even if it's not gained through negotiations, we intend on pursuing this even outside of negotiation. It's the right thing to do, and it should be done. Because as example, that's why there's a lot of turnover, because employees don't get a day of rest. It's not only for their family, but nobody can work under those circumstances. So we feel confident we can negotiate it, but the key is how you get there without it at the expense of a non-career, I mean, a full-time employee who chooses not to work overtime. And Article 8 is the misconception in the field. Article 8 was put in place to protect those career full-time employees who chose not to work overtime. So we cannot do it at the expense of the full-time regulars who choose not to work. But we're prepared. We will do everything we can. And I feel pretty confident we'll get there.
Thank you, Brother Brooks. Madam Executive Vice President, poll
Okay,
question number 2.
let's look at poll number 2. Will you stand up for a good contract by wearing your sticker on June 22nd? Yes or no?
Okay. While we're waiting for the results from that poll, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our next director. He likes to be called Director Balogun. So I bring you APWU Balogun, Director of the Maintenance Division. Director Balogun.
Yes, good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Sister Liz. Thank you for recognizing my new first name of director, and it's growing. Before you know, I'm even forgetting my first name. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters of the American Postal Workers Union. As you can see, we have talents all over the place. Look at Sister Liz, look at Sister Debbie. They are professional Zoom organizer. And of course, we have tons of people in the background. Thank you all for all that you do. We are not taking it for granted. This does not happen by itself. I bring you greetings on behalf of Maintenance Division. My name is APWU Balogun. That's for those people that call me APWU. It's APWU Balogun, AKA Director Balogun. I'm a proud member of Greater Los Angeles Local. And online with me today, we have Assistant Director Jimmy and Brother Terry Waldon and the entire Maintenance Council. It is an honor of a lifetime and a privilege of multiple lifetimes to be able to stand before you today as a representative and one of the core negotiation team and a spokesperson for Maintenance Table. I'm so excited. I'm beside myself. Every day I wake up, I'm pinching myself, say, how can this happen? Only in America. Only in America can someone come from another country, another language, and still rise to the top of APW negotiation. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for that honor. We have a team that is second to none for your negotiation. The members of the teams are myself, Assistant Director Walden and Martinez, Brother Dave Sanaki from Northeast Region, Brother Jason Trier from Eastern Region, And in preparation for Tuesday and going forward with the negotiation, we have been meeting weekly, sometimes even daily. Sometimes I will even call one, then I call the other one, then the next thing I know, I said, maybe I should even just talk to all of them at one time. That's the way, that's how dynamic things has been. So I thank them publicly for accommodating my multiple calls. If I can sleep, they won't be able to sleep either. So we'll be meeting daily, and again, and the other person you can do that to is, I challenge you to call Ms. Power at 2 a.m. in the morning or send her email. She will respond. So I'll stop doing that. I'm also very proud to tell you that we are having regular meetings with the regional coordinators, whether it's one-on-one or as a group. And I believe that could probably be the first time that we see the involvement of regional coordinator to this level. So I'm very proud of them. And I will be remiss if I did not mention Brother Omar Gonzalez. He was the person that got me involved and gave me my first break in the union in 1986 in Los Angeles when he was the local president. Brother Gonzalez, thank you, Brother Omar. Thank you for lifetime friendship. Thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for your contribution to APWU. And thank you for your tireless effort. And every time he does something, I would just say, OMG. We call him, oh my God, but that's his abbreviation for his name. Brothers and sisters, we will not negotiate in public for obvious reasons. Most of you know, I do not have the pleasure of speaking my voice. I was raised very conservatively. I don't do Facebook, I don't do Instagram, I don't do Utagram or YouTube, I just don't. Like I say, it is a luxury to speak your mind, especially when you represent others. So all of us have the same motto. We do not have a luxury of speaking our mind. Our mind, our goal is to speak for you. So if you ask me a public question, what will you get? You will get a guided public answer for our benefit, because we do not want anything that we see or do in this forum to end up on management's desk. Who knows? Some of them might even be listening to us right now. If they are, you tell them, we are ready. We're coming for them. And we are negotiating, we're fired up, and we are ready. I promise you that our leadership, Brother Mark Dimondstein, Vance, and the entire core committee, we have been meeting regularly, as they already mentioned, and the directors have been meeting also to make sure we're all on the same page. The maintenance council have been fully involved. I've been to so many Zoom meetings for the past few, but I'm so zoomed out. The maintenance council is being briefed regularly, and I hope some of those briefs are getting to you. You, the frontline soldier, I thank you for your representation. I thank you for your trust in us to lead in this fight. The struggle continues. Thank you, and thank you, Sister Liz. Back to you.
Thank you, Director Balogun. We have a question for you as well.
Okay.
Robert Pro wants to know, will there be any negotiations to change the MS47 TL5 back to the 1983 MS47 version?
Well, that's a loaded question. As you know, if you don't know, Brother Robert, we did put TL3 on the table at the last negotiation. And our goal at that time is, if the Postal Service is serious about the heavy burdens, so-called of line H, we are willing to give them, at least I am, willing to give them line H if they're willing to go back to TL3. That's how strong we are on it. Again, this is one of our priority. I will not tell you whether it's 1, 2, or 3, but it will be reintroduced at some point. Thank you for that question. It's on our agenda.
Thank you, Director Balogun.
Thank
Deb,
you, Sister
we're
Liz.
ready for the results.
Okay, let's see the results. Will you stand up for a good contract by wearing your sticker on June 22nd? So we got 98%. That's great. Please wear them with pride. We love you guys, and we thank you for being out there for us.
Thank you, Sister Soretti. And now to a good friend of mine. I know he's in here somewhere. He's known as the kingpin of the Motor Vehicle Services Division, and that's none other than Director Mike Foster.
Thank you so much, Liz. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be able to represent the motor vehicle craft in contract negotiations. You know, I have sat at the motor vehicle table in negotiations ever since 2000, contract negotiations. And that was even prior to me coming to APWU headquarters in 2001. So, you know, I have been intricately involved in the issues, the problems, and the concerns of the motor vehicle craft. And I have in the past and will continue to extol the virtues of the motor vehicle craft employees. We are amongst the elite of the American Postal Workers Union, not putting us ahead of none of our other sisters and brothers, but certainly shoulder to shoulder. We stand shoulder to shoulder with the American Postal Workers Union family as we try to be the best postal employees and union members that we possibly can. We're fired up and we're ready to go. We know that this will be a difficult contract negotiations. The Postmaster General has come from a subcontracting business prior to him becoming the PMG. So we know that their mentality will be to try to get all of the benefits and all of the savings on the backs of the workers. We have fought for these benefits and these advancements ever since merger in 1971. So these hard won achievements have been done with blood, sweat, and toil. And, you know, we're not anxious or interested in giving them back, you know, but contract negotiations is a give and take type of a proposition. And if I had one opportunity in my career as a union official, it would be that every member of the American Postal Workers Union had the opportunity to sit at the bargaining table and to really to understand the process and what the Postal Service management's opinion is of bargaining unit employees. You know, if that was one thing that I would be able to do, that would be it. We have formed a committee, a contract negotiation committee, and it's made up of rank and file members because we don't want to forget what the worker on the floor's perspective is and what do you feel is that your needs are. I don't want me to be negotiating what I think that your needs are until I hear from you and you tell me what you think that your needs are. You know, definitely what we've heard about is training. You know, management continues to use the lack of training as an opportunity to contract out, you know, in the motor vehicle craft, contracting out in the VMF and PVS has always been a major issue and a major concern. We've got a group made up of NBAs and rank and file, W.W. Wright, William Wright, Bruce Amy, Drake Shaw, and my assistant who's been steadfast in working with me and helping me with planning for negotiations, Brother Ken Prince. Also, we've got rank and file with Brother Daryl Goss, Brother William Weisner, and Brother Farron Williamson. And we're working, and Brother Dave Cook, I'm sorry. And we're working very hard to get some proposals in place that is going to really represent some of the issues and some of the concerns on the workroom floor. We're fired up, we're ready to go. You know, we've been given a direction from the membership, and you know, we're dedicated and we're committed to getting the job done. You know, thank you very much for the opportunity to serve the membership of the APWU and the motor vehicle craft. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Foster. It's good to know we're fired up and we're ready to go. And we certainly hope that our members get fired up and ready to go on that workroom floor. We're looking forward to the days coming. We have a question for you, Mike, as well. It's submitted by Carl Gordon. He
Okay.
wants to know, is there any plans in negotiating higher levels for the DSIs? Some full-time DSIs have not been properly trained, and he wants to know when will the training resume? But he's more interested in, will there be higher level pay negotiated?
We're looking at various ways to compensate our members. If you remember, Brother Carl, the DSIs got a mid-contract increase when we resolved the grievance, and we've got the DSIs comparable in level to the TTOs. Now, in an ideal world, we would like to have them one step or one level higher than the TTOs. We haven't been able to achieve that thus far. You know, training also is an issue, but those are things that we are well aware of, and you know, we'll look at it again as we go forward in this round of negotiations.
Thank you, Mike. And now it's my honor to introduce to you the Director of Support Services, Brother Steve Brooks.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Welcome from the Support Services Division. I want to say it's a privilege and an honor to be able to represent the members of the APWU in contract negotiations. As my fellow craft directors have stated, we're prepared, we're fired up, and we're ready to go into the negotiation process. President Dimondstein and Industrial Relations Director Vance Zimmerman, they've held core committee, negotiation committee meetings, as well as individual meetings with the craft directors to flesh out what we want to achieve for our members in this contract. I've been working closely with the Support Services NBA, Judy McCann, as well as the local representatives, Arian Brown for Article 40 and Clint Holbert for Article 41, to address the issues that they want resolved in this contract. They've solicited ideas from their membership and they've brought them forward. We've reviewed and prioritized the issues. We've developed a language and put it in proposal format. And we can't wait to address those concerns with management and hear their responses. In our earlier town hall meeting, I was asked at the last minute to give a shout out to the postal nurses. And my frame of mind right then was we were talking about contract negotiations, and this is a separate contract. But what I really should have done is put a big thank you out there for all the postal nurses and what they've done through this whole pandemic. They've worked countless hours with under a lot of stress to make sure that every employee from every craft who has a potential close contact to COVID positive tested employees. They've done close contact tracing. They've dealt with quarantine situations, and all under a lot of stress with having to try and get employees back, being pressured by the Postal Service to get those employees back as quickly as possible. They've entered all the data into the systems and into the medical documents, and they're still under a lot of pressure to get this stuff done. So my apologies for missing that opportunity to get a big shout out to the postal nurses. Again, thank you for the opportunity to represent APW members in this fight for better working conditions, benefits, and wages. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Steve. President Dimondstein, break time is over. I have a question.
I'm ready.
We have received several questions from our retirees, and kudos to them for joining us in this call this afternoon, as well as our APWU auxiliary members who work very hard to assist us in our everyday struggle. But could you give us some information like on the retirees? A lot of them want to know What benefits are they going to get in this contract? Exactly what does it mean to them, et cetera. So could you give us a little background?
Sure, sure. First, I want to give a big shout out to our retirees who are so passionate about the union cause while they're no longer active workers, understanding that a robust postal service, they not only sincerely believe in their hearts and gave their working lifeblood to, but they understand a robust post office also helps protect retirees going forward. The reality is, though, that retirees' relationship to the work floor changes when we retire. And so there's only a few points in the contract that deal with retiree benefits after retirement. One, for instance, is the letters of demand. And we've improved that. I think in 2015, we made a good step forward there. So we will certainly be taking a look at those. Outside of negotiations in terms of the contract, we've also have negotiated MOUs where retirees who want to volunteer to come back to work during the holiday crunch time can do so. A lot have enjoyed that and taken advantage of it. But the reality is most of what we're talking about at the bargaining table with management deals with the wages, hours, and working conditions of the active workforce. And a lot of what we're dealing with the retiree rights and benefits going forward take place in the legislative arena, which we're very involved with. Sister Judy Beard is our terrific legislative and political director. So there's very limited area, but whatever limits we have, we're certainly going to be taking a look at. And again, we greatly appreciate the involvement and the activism and the passion of our retirees.
Thanks,
Thanks.
President Dimondstein. Let me see, Vance. I think your break is over as well.
All
I
right.
got a couple of questions for you. The first one is from Krista Swinton, and she wants to know, when you convert from a PTF to a regular, what is the change, if any, of pay?
Thanks, Liz. So as a part-time flexible, your hourly pay includes the 80 hours of the 10 additional holidays. But so to answer her question directly, if you're at the lowest step and you're PTF and get converted to regular, there's an 85 cents difference in your hourly wage. But if both a PTF works 2,080 hours and a full-time employee works 2,080 hours, at the end of the year, your salary will be exactly the same. The only change in pay would be that if, as a PTF and a regular, you were working a lot of overtime, you would actually make a little bit more money as that PTF because you're fully working those hours versus a regular. So you see a difference in your hourly pay, but ultimately you're going to get paid the holidays as a regular, and therefore annually it comes out exactly the same. So again, 85 cents on the lower steps. If you're in the mid steps as a level 6, it's actually $1.02. But again, you can take and do the formula and take 2,080, which is 40 hours times 52, and then divide that by 80, which is the hours of the holiday, and that will come out to the difference in pay. But at the end of the year, there should be no difference in pay for PTFs and regular if you work exactly 40 hours a week. So,
Thank you,
give me the
Vance.
next one, Liz.
Okay. During the pandemic, our annual leave was extended to 520 hours of annual. Would there be any negotiations to see if we can get that changed to 520 instead of 440?
So right now, I want to point out, so when we extended for the leave year 2021 that we're in and going into 2022 at the end of the year, it has already been extended for that. So we got the first MOU and that extended it for this past year. It's extended for another year. We will be looking at that to see if we're able to get that extended. That we would be happy to do that, but I just want to make it clear, we've already got that done for next year.
Okay. Is there any possibility, Oh.
Siri here. Let me know if I can help.
Okay, Siri just answered you, Van.
So we just to be clear, we only negotiate for human beings. I do not represent individuals that are not breathing, living. So sorry, Siri, I will not answer your question.
I'm glad because you don't know what you just whispered not to answer that question. Is there any possibility, and this will be it for the moment, is there any possibility of negotiating health insurance for PSEs after their 90-day probationary period?
So as whoever's asking the question knows that after 1 year, that the rate changes. And yes, we're continuing to look to always benefit the being the PSEs. I'll just say broadly to answer your question, that's one of the things we're potentially looking at as we look at what will cause PSE retention. If I tell that there's a whole basket of things that we're looking for the PSEs and considering and raising with management, and that is one of them.
Okay, that came from Robert Miranda. And the other question came about the 520 annual leave hours came from Jacob Terry. Okay, Brother Foster, Mike Foster.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think there will be any attempts to negotiate increases for TTOs, your tractor trailer operators? And that's the question.
I think that's a good opportunity. Keep in mind that's an Article 9 issue, and I will be talking with Mark Vance and the other core negotiating committee. But I think that especially with the shortage of drivers, the problem that the Postal Service has had with hiring, and with some of those private industry that is paying bonuses and much of a higher level, I think that the TTOs are definitely a good candidate for some type of an upgrade. But that's going to be a decision that's going to be made with the core negotiating group, Mark and Vance. But I think that would be a occupational group that would be a prime candidate, especially with the situations and conditions of hiring and the problems that they're having today. So I think it would be a good suggestion, and we're already looking at that. So I thank you.
Okay. President Dimondstein, I have a question here from Pete Morad. Have we given any thought to include language that the COLAs will be extended beyond the end of the contract and remain in effect until a new contract is in effect?
Well, another good question and an interesting question. So normally at the end of the contract, all the provisions carry forward, but the pay raises, including the COLAs, have to wait till we reach a new agreement, either voluntarily through a ratification process or through interest arbitration. Brother Vance Zimmerman pointed out in the earlier call today that we purposely timed the last two contracts so we pick up the last COLA. Our contract now expires September 20th. We're picking up is it the July COLA, Vance, or the August COLA? I get mixed up sometimes. But we're picking up this last COLA, and it's going to be a big one prior to the expiration of the contract. And we did that on purpose. So now we have another 6 months after that till we would normally get to the next COLA. If we don't have an agreement by then, haven't finished interest arbitration, if that's where we end up, then that COLA would be delayed until we have a contract. But what we're hoping is first, as I said earlier, to get a voluntary agreement. And what I didn't get out there is if we don't get a voluntary agreement, we're trying to be much more proactive and aggressive to get the interest arbitration earlier. We know it's a huge frustration for the members when the contract's sitting out there undetermined for a long period of time. So we've taken care, to answer the question, we've taken care of this next COLA. We're good there. Hopefully we'll have a new contract by the time the next one is due. And we're certainly hell bent on making sure that that full COLA is protected in the next contract. If not, it's possible it gets delayed and then it becomes part of retroactivity as the annual wage increases would be if we in fact get that in an interest arbitration.
All right.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you, President Dimondstein. Director Balogun, there's a question in the Q&A that wants to know, will there be any effort to seek higher step increases for custodians in this contract?
You're on mute, brother.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, again, I'm not going to say we're only looking for raise for one particular occupational group. Whatever we decide as a core negotiation is the direction we'll be going. It will not probably be limited to one occupational group. That's the most I can say about that. But to promise a specific group at this time will show in our hands of what we're planning. Again, we have everything is on the table. Yes.
Thank you, Director Balogun. It is 7:06 p.m. and it seems like we're about to wrap up. President Dimondstein, I think you covered the 50 miles because there was quite a few questions about the 50-mile limit on the excess and about the no layoff clause. So if you want to go over that just one more time for those who were late joining in the call, it would be most appreciated.
Well, absolutely on both of those points, we are all united that we plan to defend the no layoff protection and we plan to defend the 50-mile limit to excessing. We think they're vital to our well-being, to our job security, obviously, and to the well-being of ourselves and our families. So yes, that's right up there in terms of protection. I noticed too, there are a lot of questions on that. Very good questions. Those are really vital rights that we've secured over many years of battle. And we're sure as heck as a union, and I'm including all of you in that on this webinar and everybody you work with, we're sure as heck not going to give those key and vital provisions up. So management may try to take them, but as far as we're concerned, they're not going to get them.
All right, thank you, President Dimondstein. At this time, before we get to our final remarks, as I introduced earlier, we have our regional coordinators on the call with all of us, and I would like to give them the opportunity at this time to say a few words if they should so desire. And the first one I see on my screen is Sister Tiffany Foster, Northeast Region Coordinator. Tiff.
Good evening, sisters and brothers. I bring you greetings from the Northeast region, and I hope you and your family are safe and well during these challenging times. Just repeating what everyone else said, our visible strength sends a powerful message to management during these contract negotiations. Our strength is in our numbers, one team doing it together. Continue to participate, be involved in your union, encourage others to get involved as well. Show management you support your union and that you support your contract negotiating team. Thank you for everything that you all do every day on the front lines as essential workers and for what you do for the APWU. And thank you for the opportunity to represent you. And it's an honor and a privilege. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Sister Foster. Next in my order here is Sister Sharon Stone, Central Region Coordinator.
Can I just say I agree with everything Tiffany said?
Yes, you can.
But I would also like to thank the locals for hanging in there with us, going through all these new phases and ways of communicating. We've actually managed to stay together and keep getting out the information to everybody. So I appreciate everybody being on, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Sharon. Next, I don't know how they managed to do this, but I want you to know the regional coordinators are all lined up in order. I got to find out what special technique they use. Next is the Eastern Regional Coordinator, AJ Jones.
Thank you, Liz. Good evening, brothers and sisters. I'd like to commend all of you for getting on this call this evening with us. We do appreciate it. This is very important, vital to the process of negotiations. And all the folks on this call, the core team, Mark, Vance, everybody involved here is working very hard to get the best possible opportunity to secure the best negotiations we can. So we appreciate you getting on here. I would like to thank Liz and her staff for doing a fantastic job on this. This is the first time we've done this, and I think they've done terrific, and they need to be recognized. So thank you for that. Be well, everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, AJ. Next, we have Southern Region Coordinator Kenneth Beasley.
Okay. From the Southern Region, welcome. I'm glad to be on here and on behalf of the Southern Region. But also, I just thinking in terms of when we was talking about the, first I just want to say this. My hat's off to the negotiating team. If I had a hat on. But anyway, I need to be out there that they're out there negotiating on y'all, on the members' behalf. What's most important to the members, and that is their, the welfare on the floor, and most important, bottom line, is their salaries. So, but when you think in terms of negotiating, it's easy, but it's not. It takes a lot of mental awareness on them, and by them doing that, it really make me feel good that we got those type of people out there, and I think they're the best of the best that we have. Not they're better than anybody, but they're the best of the best in what they do for APWU. So my hat's off to them, and I just hope everybody just keeps supporting them. I said before that support that has a big impact on how well things negotiated. And all the sports fans I've been watching the basketball games. When the home team is out there supporting you, they do better, right? So just take a cue from that. But anyway, I want to thank everybody, and thank for being on, and hope everybody do well. And let AJ and them say, be safe and take care.
Thank you, Brother Beasley. And last but not least, Brother Omar Gonzalez, Coordinator, Western Region.
Thank you, Sister Liz. And thank everybody for being on this webinar. You hear people say, well, the union doesn't do anything. I'm always complaining in this age of instant gratification. I've been involved in contract negotiations, both at rank and file bargaining committee and also as an executive board officer. And let me tell you, when we match wits, in fact, we outwit a $67 billion quasi-government corporation, and we do awesome. And so if anybody ever says, you don't do nothing, they have no clue about what goes into having a collective bargaining agreement that deals with everything that we have in the post office, wages, working conditions, and hours. And of course, everything can be improved, but we constantly work at it. And so thank you very much for being on here. And get your members engaged. Double down on that effort to get them engaged. As simple as wearing a sticker. It bugs management. In fact, they kind of want us to get a good contract, because if we get a good contract, they get more money too. So thank you once again, and look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, thank you, Brother Gonzalez. Before I turn it over to our Executive Vice President for some remarks, let me too not be remiss in thanking Hannah Decker and August Taylor, who are Executive Assistants to the Secretary Treasurer, Kenny Washington, who is from our IT department, Marika Smith, who used to work in IT and now is the manager of our per cap department, and Graham Kopp, who's our digital manager for the APWU, who has made it possible for not only this to be Facebook Live, but also to be on the APWU webpage. And I thank each and every one of you for everything that you do. And at this time, Deb, if you're ready to give us some remarks, we welcome you.
Sure. Well, this year we celebrate our birth as APWU members. That happened in 1971. And just to go back and think a little bit about how other contract negotiations have gone in the history of APWU, I remember back in the early 70s and 80s, when on the workroom floor, a lot of us workers would be getting very excited about the contract, and especially when it got to the last day and then at the midnight hour. So we would have lots of workers from Tour 1, Tour 3 hanging out at the union office wanting to know what happened. Do we have a contract? Did we get a contract before the expiration? So there was a lot of things like that that went on. During negotiations, we'd have a phone tree, a command center. And we do that even today. We've done it for the last few contracts where you can call in and you'll be able to find out information updated as to what's going on with the contract. But it should get very exciting when it's the last night. And hopefully we do get a contract without having to go to arbitration. So some of the things we did way back then was also wear the t-shirts, wear the union buttons. It was really important. And I got to say that it also reminded management on that workroom floor that we were a force, that we were together, we were union strong, and that we did back our negotiators. So sometimes there were situations in the past when we would be making informational posters for picket signs to be able to go out the next day and to be able to let the communities know around the country how we were struggling with the Postal Service to try to get a good contract and to be able to try to, get them on board with us so that we had more power than just ourselves. We had our community backing us during negotiations. So there's so many activities that we could be doing, together and on the workroom floor end of it. The thing that's really important is when you get this, when you look at this national agreement, you put it in your hand and you hold on to it, it's got so much in it. And when you go to think about all the improvements we've made over the years, one contract year after another, we've tried to improve and to do better. And the only way we can do better is because of you and because of your union involvement on that workroom floor. When, we really need a contract, yes, but more so, we need you. You guys are the blood, sweat, and tears of why we try to improve this contract every 3 years. So the contract's like a Bible on the workroom floor. It can improve when you guys help to enforce it. But if you just let it go and don't do anything and don't go to the union and don't stand up for your rights and all of these rights that are in this book, it means nothing. So it's so important for you guys to also get involved, do the grievance process, because when we go through those grievances, just like Lamont said, it shows us where we need to get improvements on our contract. Your voices are very important. And we know that last year was really hard, being an essential worker, being exposed to COVID. And again, there's just been so much hostile work environment around the country. We know that we've got to try to improve that. And so, we need change. But when we have a bigger power, not just us at headquarters, when management sees that big power all over this country, it stands for something more. And it gives us that push to be able to get better language. So it's really important. And I'd like to just say to our core committee and to all our magnificent subcommittees, our officers, our NBAs, the rank and file committee, and our APWU staff, they're all working tirelessly during these negotiations. And we really need now you guys to help participate and get involved with us on that workroom floor. You're really important to us. So don't forget to sign up to those local contract action teams. They're doing activities. They're going to have a lot of things set up. They're going to need help. So it'd be so great if you could help them to spread that excitement and strengthen our APWU family on the workroom floor. So stand with us side by side, union strong. We can't make a difference without you, without our locals, without our state, without our retirees, without our auxiliary, without our union members, whether you're new or whether you're seasoned. We need you all, and you guys make a difference. So we hope you enjoyed the webinar, and stay strong out there and stick to the union.
Thank you, Deb. Before we end this town hall meeting, if any of you missed anything or got on this one late, we're scheduled to go back on. We will be back here at 9 p.m. Believe it or not, it's been a long day. It's going to be even longer, but we welcome you to come back. We'll be here. To the NEB, before you all go, I'll see you all at 8:30 p.m. Half an hour prior to. With that, sisters and brothers, guests, friends, and family, I give you the President of the American Postal Workers Union, Mark Dimondstein.
Well, thanks again, Sister Powell. I will be brief. First, I appreciate everyone getting on. We'll do more of these as negotiations go forward, and we'll keep you abreast and be as transparent as we possibly can. Just for those who put some information into the chat, we didn't ignore those. We're listening. We're going to take into account some of the comments made, even though we couldn't get to all the questions and answers in our short time together. Sisters already referred to our birthday of 50 years ago. I joke with people, we're having an internal argument about whether it's a birthday or an anniversary. I think it's both. But that aside, Mo Biller was president for 40% of our life as the APW. By the way, merging 5 unions together was a huge step forward. I wish we had merged all the unions into one. That's another debate for another time. But it was a huge step forward and gave us more power at the bargaining table when we won collective bargaining in 1970 and then entered into negotiations, our first round in 1971. But Brother Biller always had a term that I always thought was spot on, still think it's spot on, and is going to be spot on for generations to come. And what he always said is that the struggle continues, and so it does. So we've had a baton passed to us. We've had a torch passed to us. And now we look forward to the opportunity, and an opportunity is to uplift and to build a better life for postal workers, our families, and our communities. It's not going to be easy. It's an adversarial battle, but with all of you involved, and I'm not negotiating as you lead negotiating. I'm not negotiating for you. I'm negotiating with you. And you're going to be at that bargaining table when your officers are sitting on that bargaining table. But what gives us the honor and the privilege to be there is all of you. And that's the united voice we have as workers when we're organized in a union. So with that, I'll end on our simple slogan of one of the main slogans of the labor movement. Number one, in our unity lies our strength. Let's bring maximum unity. We can have plenty of differences as APW family. They're healthy. Contract time, maximum unity. We're going to pull together, we're going to fight together, and we're going to win together. And as we also say in the union movement, brothers and sisters, APW family, solidarity forever. We know that you know, because you're on this call, that the union is not a spectator sport. We got to be on the team. We got to be playing our role, and we appreciate everybody being involved. Thank you. Back to you, Sister Powell.
Thank you, President Dimondstein. Sisters and brothers, before we end this call, please remember in the last round of the 2018 negotiations, our Fight Today for a Better Tomorrow contract campaign, along with the enthusiastic participation of so many local leaders and members, address the importance of a member mobilization approach to winning power and building the strength of our union. You've heard it before, you heard it again today from Debbie and Mark. Kickoff contract rally, June 21st. I will be sending out that link for you again after this call, in case, not this call, the last call, in case you haven't registered. July the 1st, 1971, we'll have our 50th birthday / 50th anniversary of the beginning of the American Postal Workers Union, so stay tuned for that. We have mailed each of our members, our union, our contract, our future stickers to your homes. Your local union has additional stickers. We're asking that you wear them and show your support and your demand for a good contract. And your local will give them to you if you need them. Remind everyone to wear union gear on the 22nd. Watch the rally. And I already don't have to tell you to get fired up because I know you're fired up. And we're ready to go. To our MVS employee members and to our window clerks. Unfortunately, you cannot wear a sticker, but the American Postal Workers Union has ordered wristbands. Your locals should have those as well. So put one of those on because we know that even though you don't have a sticker on, you're stuck with us because we're stuck with you. I heard that somewhere, I don't know where, but it sounded kind of good, right? The opening day for virtual contract negotiations, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, June the 22nd. And as soon as I receive that link from the USPS, I will get that out to everybody. For the first time that I can remember, the Postal Service has agreed, only because of the pandemic, that we can live stream the opening day ceremony. Because you cannot be there in person, you'll be able to join your negotiators at the table for a 45 to an hour presentation and opening day. So be looking out for that link. Make sure that you become a part of the history and join us virtually because hopefully it will never have to be done that way again. And I say hopefully because the pandemic got to go somewhere sooner or later. I know they tired of us because we tired of them. So tell everybody we're union strong all day long, and the fight for our future starts today. God bless each and every one of you. Stay safe, stay well, and if we don't hear from you at 9 o'clock, we'll see you on June the 21st, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care, everyone, and thanks again.